He arrived early, calm, confident, and ready to close the biggest deal of his career. But before he could even reach the meeting room, a manager stopped him cold. Her eyes scanned his skin, his clothes, his worn briefcase, and in an instant, she decided he didn't belong there. Security was called. Voices rose. Cameras started rolling. What no one in that hallway realized was that the man they were humiliating held the power to decide their company's future, $300 million worth of it. If they'd known who he really was, they might have treated him differently. But by the time the truth came out, it was far too late. He thought he was walking into a meeting. He didn't know he was walking into history. Marcus Johnson had built his entire life on quiet excellence. No drama, no shortcuts, just results. From late nights at Harvard Business School to years of grinding through Wall Street's unspoken barriers, he'd earned every step of success. Now, as a senior partner overseeing a $300 million partnership, he'd learned to let his work speak louder than anything else. That morning, he dressed simply: white shirt, clean jeans, worn leather shoes. No suit, no pretense. He believed respect should come from competence, not appearance. As his car pulled up to Meridian Corporation's glass towers, Marcus felt calm, even proud. Months of negotiation were about to pay off. He didn't know that behind those polished walls, his presence alone would ignite a storm. One that would expose how quickly respect can turn to suspicion when the wrong assumptions take control. But what happened next would push him into a nightmare he never saw coming. The executive floor gleamed with glass and marble, a world built for power and privilege. Marcus stepped out of the elevator, calm and focused, the folder in his hand holding the future of a $300 million deal. But before he could take 3 steps toward the conference room, a voice sliced through the air. "Excuse me, this area isn't for visitors." Patricia Williams, senior manager, stood behind her desk like a guard at a gate. Her expression wasn't curious, it was certain. The kind of certainty that comes from assumption, not fact. Her eyes swept over him. The dark skin, the casual clothes, the scuffed briefcase. In seconds, a story formed in her mind, and Marcus was cast as the intruder. He smiled politely, offering his name and meeting time, but the more he spoke, the less she listened. Every word was treated like a lie. Every calm movement, a threat. By the time he reached for his ID, she was already calling security. 2 guards appeared within minutes, their heavy boots echoing across the marble floor. Employees began to gather near the hallway, whispering, phones raised discreetly. To them, it looked like a confrontation. To Marcus, it felt like déjà vu, another moment where credentials and composure couldn't outweigh color and bias. Patricia stepped closer, voice sharp and public. "This floor is restricted. You need to leave immediately." The guards hesitated, unsure. Something about the man's confidence didn't match the picture she was painting. But Patricia doubled down, pointing to the elevator like a command. Marcus didn't argue. He'd learned long ago that anger only gave them what they expected. Instead, he calmly opened his wallet. The platinum shimmer of a Centurion card caught the light. The hallway fell silent for a breath, long enough for the truth to flicker, but not enough to erase prejudice. "That doesn't prove anything," Patricia snapped, her tone rising. "Anyone can fake an ID." A young employee, Jennifer, stood frozen a few feet away, recording quietly on her phone. The tension in the air was electric. Something real, something ugly, unfolding in front of her camera lens. She'd seen Patricia's arrogance before, but this was different. This was cruelty dressed as professionalism. Marcus glanced toward the glass-walled conference room beyond Patricia's shoulder. Inside, executives were taking their seats. His name was printed on one of the folders at the table, though no one inside knew that the man they were waiting for was being blocked outside by his own partners-to-be. Security waited for direction. Patricia's voice hardened. "Escort him out." As one guard took a step forward, Marcus' phone buzzed, a message from the CEO herself. "Almost time. Excited to meet you in person." He let the screen light his face for just a moment before tucking it away. Jennifer caught the name on camera. Viewers online would later freeze that frame and gasp. By now, whispers had turned to murmurs. Phones out, fingers typing, a live stream climbing in viewership by the second. The world was watching something it had seen too many times before: power protecting prejudice, and dignity standing alone against it. And yet, Marcus didn't flinch. He knew the truth always reveals itself. It just needed time. He thought the humiliation was almost over. But the real reckoning hadn't even begun. The hallway had become a stage, every second heavier than the last. Patricia's voice carried across the polished floor, sharp and certain, declaring Marcus an intruder while the crowd grew and the live stream count climbed into the thousands. Security closed in, tension thick as glass about to shatter. Then the conference room door opened. Helen Morrison, the CEO, stepped out, confusion flashing to shock as she recognized the man being cornered. "What's going on?" she demanded, her tone cutting through the chaos. Patricia straightened, proud of her intervention, explaining that she'd stopped a trespasser from disrupting the company's most important meeting. Marcus didn't interrupt. He simply reached into his jacket one last time, the crowd holding its breath, Patricia ready to accuse him of another lie. But instead of an ID, he pulled out a single white business card. The CEO took it, her eyes narrowing as she read. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. Marcus Johnson, senior partner, Apex Capital Ventures. The same Apex the executives had been waiting for. The same man Patricia had called a vagrant minutes earlier. Gasps rippled through the hallway. Phones trembled in stunned hands. The live chat exploded with disbelief. Patricia's confidence collapsed, her voice stammering useless excuses that dissolved into the marble echo. Helen turned slowly toward her, realization and fury mixing into something cold and final. Cameras caught every second. Her disbelief, Patricia's panic, Marcus's calm. The man they had humiliated now controlled the deal their company couldn't survive without. Patricia reached out, pleading for understanding, but Marcus didn't answer. He just looked at her, the look of someone who had seen this story too many times before. The CEO's face drained of color. Around them, whispers grew into a storm. "He's the apex partner." They blocked him out of his own meeting. And as the clock struck 10, Marcus finally stepped past Patricia and into the conference room, where silence awaited him like judgment itself. The same door that had once been closed to him now swung wide, and the entire world was watching. He thought the damage was done, but what he was about to reveal inside that room would change everything. The conference room was silent as Marcus took his place at the head of the table, the same seat Patricia had spent the last 30 minutes guarding. The executives stared, frozen between disbelief and dread, while outside the glass walls, the remnants of chaos lingered, phones still recording, whispers still echoing. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Calmly, he connected his laptop and projected a slide that read, "Apex Capital, Meridian Partnership Review." His tone was measured, but every word landed with the weight of truth. He outlined how Meridian's financial survival depended on the very partnership Patricia had almost destroyed. Then, he paused, letting the reality settle. Their company's future hung on the judgment of the man they had just humiliated. The CEO's expression shifted from horror to shame, realizing that this wasn't just a PR disaster. It was a moral reckoning. Marcus didn't gloat, didn't retaliate. He simply stated the facts, showing a dignity they had denied him. But when he spoke again, his voice carried something deeper, a truth that cut through the numbers and contracts. "This," he said, gesturing toward the viral footage still looping online, "is what bias looks like in real time. It's not just words. It's assumption. It's humiliation disguised as professionalism. And it's everywhere." The room stayed silent, each executive feeling the weight of his words. Patricia sat collapsed in her chair, staring at the table, realizing her career and her mask of superiority had shattered before thousands of witnesses. Marcus didn't need to fire her. The world already had. Within hours, the clip flooded the internet, sparking outrage, think pieces, and public apologies from the company's board. Stocks dipped, statements were issued, diversity task forces announced. But beyond the headlines, something more meaningful began: conversation. People in offices across the country whispered about it, replayed it, asked themselves uncomfortable questions. For Marcus, it wasn't revenge he sought, but reflection. He'd seen too many moments like this buried under excuses, but this time, the world saw the truth unfold raw and undeniable. Still, he couldn't help but think about how easily it could have ended differently. How? Without witnesses, without that viral clip, he could have been escorted out, dismissed, erased. The thought lingered, bitter and familiar. Yet, in that boardroom, he chose grace over anger, using power not to destroy but to illuminate. Weeks later, the partnership moved forward. Under new leadership, Patricia's name faded from company directories, but her story didn't fade from memory. It became a case study, a warning, a mirror. Because what happened to Marcus wasn't just a corporate scandal. It was a reflection of something far deeper, woven into the fabric of everyday life. The quiet moments when judgment walks faster than understanding. The boardrooms, classrooms, sidewalks, and streets where skin color becomes a filter before words are ever heard. And so, as Marcus left that building for the last time that day, he didn't look back in triumph, but in truth. For every Marcus Johnson who has the platform to reveal injustice, there are countless others silenced by it. Countless stories unseen, unheard, and unrecorded. The question that remains isn't what happened to Patricia Williams. It's what happens next, in every place where bias hides behind policy, tone, or silence. Because until respect is instinctive and equality is reflex, stories like this will keep repeating. And the next time someone like Marcus walks into a room, will the world see a professional or another assumption waiting to happen?